show. Where freedom is cool and political correctness is for sissies.
And that is me, Val Emmons. Welcome. This is November 11th, 2013. Can you believe the year's almost over, folks? Wow, we only have like a month and a half left of the whole 2013 year. It just flew by. And today I want to talk with you about Obamacare. Of course, there was last week some talk about Obama, and Mr. Obama apologized to those who lost their health coverage. Let's listen.
And we worked hard to try to make sure that we implemented it properly. But obviously we didn't do a good enough job, and I regret that. We're talking about 5% of the population who are in what's called the individual market. They're out there buying health insurance on their own. Even though it only affects a small amount of the population, it means a lot to them, obviously, when they get this letter canceled. And, I am deeply concerned about it, and I've assigned my team to see what can we do to close some of the holes and gaps in the law, because my intention is to lift up and make sure the insurance that people buy is effective.
Okay, let's stop right there. 5% of the population. Now, if you are living in a cave, you don't know that 5% of the population is roughly 15,400,000 people. Okay? Okay? 5% of the population. It was only 15% of the population that Obama claimed to get the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act passed. That's 48 million people. 15%, 5% is not a significant amount of people, he says. It's only 15,400,000 people. Okay, just wanted to point that out.
Like you owe these folks an apology for misleading them, even if you didn't intentionally do it, but at this point, they feel misled, and you've seen the anger that's out there.
I regret very much that what we intended to do, which is to make sure that everybody is moving into better plans because they want them as opposed to because they're forced into it, that we weren't as clear as we needed to be in terms of the changes that were taking place. And I want to do everything we can to make sure that people are finding themselves in a good position, a better position than they were before this law happened. And I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me. We've got to work hard to make sure that they know we hear them, and that we're going to do everything we can to deal with folks who find themselves in a tough position as a consequence of this.
You have 21 days till November 30th. Is this website going to be running smoothly enough? If it's not, at that point, do you sit there and say, okay, let's extend the enrollment period. Let's delay the mandate?
I am deeply frustrated about how this website has not worked over the first couple of weeks. And, I take responsibility of that. My team takes responsibility of that. And we are working every single day, 24/7, to improve it. And it's better now than it was last week. And it's certainly a lot better than it was on October 1st. Having said that, given that I've been burned already with a website, well, more importantly, the American people have been burned.
I was getting ready to say, Mr. President, you haven't been burned. We've been burned. $690 million for a website that looks like my grandma made it? Are you kidding me? And not to mention the fact that you give an apology. Oh, well, we weren't clear in the things that we wanted. Okay, baloney. The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act laid out 10 essential benefit requirements that must be included in each insurance plan in order for it to be approved by Kathleen Sebelius, who is the secretary. Go back and look up the bill, folks. Section 1, 1302. It's under benefits, essential benefits of the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act. It says the secretary will approve the acceptable insurance policies for coverage, okay? All right, so the thing is, insurance companies are canceling these policies because, one, you may love your coverage if you're a male, You may love that coverage that you have right now. You may have 100% out of pocket, or 100% everything paid, no copay. I mean, whatever it is that you have, you may love your policy. And you were told by this president that you could keep it. Even though, within the health care bill, he knew. Either that or Sebelius could have changed things and she didn't. Okay, a man has to have maternity coverage. Because if you're planning on getting pregnant, Bob, then you need to have coverage. We know when taxpayers paying for you to pop a baby out your penis. That's how absurd it is. I just wanted to point that out. And, and then there's the birth control pills too, because Bob needs a birth control pill, so he's not popping out a baby out of his penis. And he has to take a hit for that, even though he doesn't use those things. Okay, so that's the 10 essential benefits plan. So insurance companies are canceling these plans because they know that even if you have a plan that you love and you want to keep, it doesn't have these couple of different things like the contraceptive and the maternity coverage, and then also pediatric care and dental. If you don't have any kids, you still have to you still have to pay like you do have kids. Okay, people aren't understanding that. So they canceled these programs for two reasons. These insurance policies were canceled because, first of all, they don't match what the government mandates. And you will be fined if you have one of these policies that don't have like maternity leave or contraceptive coverage, or if you don't have kids and you still have to have coverage for kids. I know, right? It's stupid. Okay, so she could have changed that. And they could have changed it. They can amend this bill, this wretched bill, but they don't. You know why? Because insurance companies are canceling these policies so they can charge you more. That's right. Because they know that you have to have health coverage, and they know that you have to have these mandated premiums. These mandated insurance policies, because that's healthcare. Sorry, folks. Insurance is not healthcare. You're buying a membership card to a club to get a discount. Sometimes as low as 60%, sometimes as high as 80%, 90%. I doubt that. A lot of these policies, so people forget, they're going to have to buy their own insurance. They're going to have to pay a copayment when they go see a doctor. They're going to have to pay for their prescriptions. They're going to have to pay deductibles, sometimes high as $5,000, before you can even be covered on anything. So you're going to have to pay this $500 a month or whatever it is that you're going to pay. Then you have to meet $5,000 deductible before anything's covered. Okay? How is that helping you? How is that health care if you are poor? It's not. Now, we've talked about if you're poor, but let's talk about if you're not poor. Because there's a tax that's going to go into effect. And Forbes, you will check it out. I put it on my Facebook page. You can check out the Val Emmons Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Val Emmons. And all of these are posted on there. I have a show page too, but I'm pretty much on my regular page doing the same thing. So, anyway, so you can go there until we get the show page going more. Anyway, so there was an article in Forbes about the 0.9% Obamacare tax that it's about to hit you. If you're single and you make $200,000 a year, or if you're a couple and you make $250,000 a year, you're going to get hit with this extra tax. So basically, what it's saying is that, it's hard to keep all this new Obamacare taxes straight. And there's one that some couples might not see until they file their taxes next April. It could mean a surprise tax bill for some folks, and it may be even a refund. So it's the 0.9% Medicare surtax on wages and self-employment income, not to be confused with the separate new 3.8 net investment tax on capital gains, dividend, and passive income. Can you lessen the bite of the 0.9% surtax? In some cases, yes. If you act before year end, you can. But the surtax or additional Medicare tax, it is levied on top of the Medicare tax you're already paying. And this goes into effect January 1st, 2013. I mean, it went into effect, so you'll be paying it in 2014. It's already in effect now, so there's really not much you can do about it at this point to relieve yourself of anything you're going to have to pay in, if you haven't caught it by now. Anywho, it applies to wages and self-employment income above $250,000 per couple, or $200,000 for a single person. It applies to active income from a general partnership, but retirees get a break Distributions from retirement accounts and Social Security benefits aren't assessed and surtaxed. Once you earn over $200,000, you'll see a withholding for the 0.9% surtax on your pay stub. Employers are obligated to collect the tax without regard to the employee's filing status or outside compensation. So if you're a high earner single with a corporate job, then it's straightforward. You pay 1.45% Medicare tax on the first $200,000 of compensation plus 2.35%. So let's break that down. That's 1.45% plus the additional 0.9% on the compensation in excess of $200,000. So if you make more than $200,000, you're going to have to pay 2.35 on that excess of $200,000. This is on top of the Social Security tax rate of 12.4% to 6.2% paid by the employee and 6.2% by the employer, calculated on the wage base up to $113,700 in 2013. So the more your salary goes up, the more you're going to have to pay. That's just basically what Obamacare is boiling down to. So then there is, when you have to deal with these plans, I want to read this letter in the opinion page by Lori Gottlieb. It's in the opinion page of the New York Times. I'm going to read this to you. This is her point of view, and I found it rather interesting, and I can agree with. I can relate, so I wanted to read it to y'all. This is Los Angeles. The Anthem Blue Cross representative who answered my call told me that there was a silver lining in the cancellation of my individual PPO policy and the $5,400 annual increase that I would have paid for the Affordable Care Act complaint option. Now, if I have stage 4 cancer or need a sex change operation, I'd be covered regardless of pre-existing conditions. Never mind that the new provider network would eliminate coverage for my and my son's long-term doctors and hospitals. The Anthem rep cheerily explained that despite the company's, I paraphrase, draconian rates and limited network, my benefits, which also include maternity coverage, handy for a 46-year-old, would be actually much richer. I, of course, would be actually much poorer. And it was this aspect of the bum deal that, to my surprise, turned out to be a very unpopular thing to gripe about. Obamacare, or Kafka Care, I posted on Facebook as soon as I hung up with Anthem. I vented about the call and wrote that the president should be protecting the middle class, not making our lives substantially harder. For extra sympathy, I may have thrown in the fact that I'm a single mom. Okay, I did. Then I sat back and waited for the love to pour in, or at least the lots of likes. After all, I have 1,037 Facebook friends. Surely they'd commiserate. Except they didn't. Instead, aside from my friend David, who attempted to cheer me up with my dad, who never turns down a bargain, would take the sex change just because it's free. My respondents implied in posts that, to my annoyance, kept getting more likes. That it was beyond uncool to be whining about myself when the less fortunate would finally have insurance. The nation has been better off, wrote one friend. Over 33 million people who did not have insurance are now going to get it. That's all fine and good for the nation, but what about my $5,400 rate hike? After tax dollars, I wanted to add, but dared not in a group so previously closeted, Mother Teresa's. Another friend wrote, yes, I'm paying an extra $200 a month, but I'm okay with doing it so that others who need it can have health care. I was shocked. Who knew my friends were such humanitarians? Has Obamacare made it unpolitically correct to be concerned by a serious burden on my family's well-being? The heated reaction even moved offline. Frustrated, I observed to one friend who was covered through her work that when an issue didn't affect people directly, they become theoretically generous. Ask them to donate several thousands of dollars so that less fortunate can have medical insurance, which is exactly what President Obama is asking me to do, and I'll bet they'd change their tune in inequality and creating fairness and doing what is good for the country. Refreshingly, the two people who showed real empathy were my insurance broker and my friend Nicole, who sent daily links to news stories about people who were also stripped of their coverage and mandated to buy expensive exchange or private policies without access to their current doctors, yet just missed the cutoff for the subsidies. I found this letter intriguing, and I just cannot believe that people are, okay, by the time I pay my insurance, if I lost my job, I would have to pay probably about $600 a month insurance for me and my children. I'm a single mom too. This is why I could relate with Lori Gottlieb, and from the New York Times. Actually, it's op-ed, so I'm not sure if she works for the New York Times or not. I'll check that out. But anyway, I can totally agree with her, because that is about what I'd be in the hole with. And you know what? I'd be better off just taking the tax of $900, or what is it, $95, and I still wouldn't have health care. We have got to learn to distinguish health care from health insurance. Health care is not the same as health insurance. Health insurance card does not make you well. Health care makes you well. Okay? Just because you don't have insurance doesn't mean you can't get health care. There's lots of doctors out there right now who are actually stopping their businesses from taking insurance at all, or dealing with the government, because they want to spend time with the patient. It's called concierge medicine, and we'll talk about that on another show. But you can look it up, because there might be one popping up around you, because I know there's several here in our state, in Little Rock, that have actually turned to that, and they're thriving. They charge you like a few dollars a month, and then you pay like a $10 copay. You get your blood work, you get your visits. I mean, it's not as excessive as insurance is, and it is healthcare. This is actually healthcare. So concierge medicine is something to look out for, and I'm sure they'll be regulating it soon enough, because the insurance lobbyists will come in and say, they can't do that. Anyway, because you know how that goes. So, I know that everyone's waiting, and you want to talk about what happened last week in Louisiana. If you haven't heard, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal announced that he was going to make regulations, or directive, about the recipients who had the free-for-all at Walmart. So, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal and his administration took steps late Wednesday to strip food stamp benefits from those who loaded up their shopping carts, knowing they had insufficient funds in their electronic benefits transfer accounts during the system failure back on October 12th. As a result of the temporary outage, over 12,000 transactions in Louisiana showed non-sufficient funds once the system got back online and retailers were able to process the purchases, according to the advocate. Okay, so if you remember back on October 12th, the computer glitch, it wasn't limited to Louisiana. It was like 17 states. However, it was Spring Hill and Mansfield, Louisiana, within a 3-hour time period, had wiped out Walmarts. Get that? I said Walmarts. Anywho, they had wiped out the stores, because apparently word got out that Walmart did not put a limit, because they couldn't read the limits on the EBT cards. So they didn't put a limit on the amount of groceries that people could buy, because they couldn't see what their balances were on the cards. Actually, one woman went up to the register by the time they'd fixed this. They announced just before this lady tried to pay with 50-cent balance on her food stamp card, $700 worth of groceries. Anyway, so these folks lined the grocery carts back all the way to the milk aisle. Some of them had 2 baskets, $700 worth of groceries, etc., etc. Okay? Then when they announced that they had fixed the glitch, boom, mass exit out of Walmart. They left the food, all the carts. Insane. There's also videos posted up around the web. You can see of this. Just it's absolutely insane. So last week, U.S. Senator David Vitter, a Republican in Louisiana, called on Louisiana officials to take steps against those whose greedy shopping sprees left merchants such as Walmart holding the bag. All right, first of all, I want to address that, because Walmart did not follow policy. When the system goes down, retailers are supposed to limit the food stamp recipients to $50 in groceries. And they didn't do that. They just said, get whatever. Just do whatever. Did they think that the government would pay for this? I mean, what were they doing? It's, this just shows what kind of people we're really helping too, though. I want to say 12,000 transactions. These 12,000 dishonest people in Louisiana alone that our taxpayer dollars are going to help, when some of us can't even put food on our own tables for our own damn kids. And this is what we're helping? So now a friend of mine says, okay, but what about the kids? And I get that. That is the tragedy in this, because the food stamps should be there to help the kids. And school lunches, it's a bunch of crap. I don't know about you, but I got 2 kids in school, and they won't even eat that stuff. They'd rather have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich than 4 chicken nuggets and 4 smiley fries. And how is that healthy anyway? You'd be better off, like, serving TV dinners in a frozen TV dinner machine. And it'd be cheaper. 99-cent banquet. Shoot. Kids would eat that up before they would eat that crappy school food that they have. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so these folks are going to be, let's see, under Gentle's new directive, recipients will lose benefits for 1 year, 2 years, or permanently, depending on how many prior violations they've had on their record. They will start with the worst cases first, according to Susie Sonnier, Secretary for the State Department of Children and Family Services. Now I know who to contact because I've been trying to contact somebody to report fraud. I was going to report this, you know me. I was going to sit there and report this stuff. I was calling the Louisiana Department of Health and Human Services because I wanted to report fraud. I mean, I wanted to know exactly what they were going to do about that because this is fraud and you should lose your benefits. It is fraud. You should be prosecuted. Of course, Walmart said they're not going to prosecute these folks. That's baloney. They didn't steal from Walmart. They're trying to steal from the federal government because the federal government apparently, well, I don't know. Because if Walmart was turning in their funds and they didn't get paid for the federal government, nope, so Walmart is on the hook for it. But that's their own fault. Next time they'll follow protocol. And I've come to learn that that's the kind of folks that work for Walmart, the kind that don't have that many brain cells. I'm sorry. It's just who I have dealt with personally. That's all I'm going to leave that at. All right, so in other news, let's see. I want to tell you, it's kind of creepy. I've never heard of this happening before. If you have, go ahead and post any in the comment section. And soon on down the line, I'm going to have where you can call in and talk to me. Just getting this podcast kind of thing going. And we'll be broadcasting live from Spreaker as well. It's an interesting broadcasting network. So this gunman fatally shot 3 musicians and then himself in Brooklyn. A musician associated with an acclaimed indie band from Iran shot 2 members of the group, the Yellow Dogs, and a third musician with an assault rifle in a Brooklyn apartment early Monday. I can just hear it now, an assault rifle. Anywho. So before he went to the roof of the East Williamsburg building and turned the weapon on himself, law enforcement officials said. The 2 dead bandmates were members of the Yellow Dogs, a post-punk band from Tehran, who moved to Brooklyn after appearing in a film about the underground music scene there. The group's manager, Ali Salizada, yeah, okay, I can't pronounce that. Anyway, I know that's bad broadcasting, but it's on the fly, and I don't have the way to pronounce it. The third man killed was a musician from Iran, but was not in the band, according to the band manager. A 4th shooting victim, an artist, was shot in the arm but is expected to survive. Law enforcement officials said the survivor, a 22-year-old who was shot twice in the arm, called 911 shortly after midnight and reported the shooting at the 3-story apartment building on Mahir Street. Responding officers found the 3 dead victims on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the apartment. A 35-year-old man and an unidentified man had been shot in the head, and a 27-year-old man had been shot in the chest. Law enforcement officials said the gunman first started shooting from the outside the apartment building, killing 1 person, then went from room to room, gunning down his victims. 2 were found in bedrooms, and the 3rd was killed in the living room. 2 other people were in the apartment at the time of the shooting. The body of the gunman was found on the roof of the building. Law enforcement officials say he shot himself in the chin. Ugh. And the .308 caliber assault rifle used in the slayings was found next to his body. It wasn't clear how many shots had been fired. Wow. So the Yellow Dogs were featured in the documentary No One Knows About Persian Cats, which celebrated them as fixtures in Tehran's underground rock scene before Iran's Ministry of Culture caught onto them, according to the Huffington Post. They played recent gigs at the Knitting Factory and Brooklyn Bowl, and their sound is described as influenced by Joy Division. They were a punk band, so wow. This is crazy. The band's video for This City is currently on YouTube, and you can find that on my page as well, along with the story. It's sad. I don't know. Most bands die in a plane or a bus crash, never like at the hands of one another. That's just crazy. So in other news, we have a few minutes here left of the podcast. We have about 4 minutes left. Guess what is going to be happening on Sundays? Amazon begins Sunday deliveries with post office's help. The Wall Street Journal reports that Amazon will be delivering packages on Sundays in the nation's 2 largest cities later this month with an unlikely partner, the U.S. Postal Service. The marriage of one of the country's most successful enterprises with one of the most troubled underscores chief executive ambitions to weave Amazon more deeply into the consumers' lives. The nation's largest internet retailer has begun some same-day grocery delivery in some cities and is developing smartphones and a set-top box. Sunday delivery is Amazon's latest effort to chip away at the key advantage for brick-and-mortar retailers: immediacy. Delivery on Sunday would be very compelling for consumers. There are certainly people who decide not to make an order on Friday because it won't get there until Monday. And I can see that because if I was going to look at something on Friday, I would possibly go out and maybe look for it over the weekend before I bought it on Amazon, see if I could find it cheaper and actually have it in my hand, because that's just how I roll. There are certain things that I buy on Amazon, like my perfume and my hair stuff, because I can't get it anywhere else, and it's actually cheaper, so I would always buy stuff like that. But, stuff that you just, I might need this. I think that, this might help because I would know that I did it over the weekend, quite possibly. Anywho, Amazon and the Postal Service declined to discuss the extra costs, and the volume projections as the length of the contract. Amazon said Sunday delivery will begin on November 17th, as early as November 17th, in Los Angeles and New York, and expand next year to Dallas, New Orleans, Houston, and Phoenix, among others. Amazon will bring packages from its warehouse to Postal Service locations on Saturday evening or Sunday morning. The agency will deliver them to doorsteps. Sunday delivery will be available for all Amazon customers in markets where the program is available at no additional cost. Customers won't specify Sunday delivery. You won't have to do that. The eligible items will show up on Sunday if that's when they're ready to be delivered, just like any other day of the week, I suppose. So representatives Amazon and the post office said the Seattle-based company was taking advantage of a little-known offering available to any shipper, basically. So the Postal Service makes limited Sunday package deliveries for its own needs around the holidays, but the arrangement with Amazon represents its first large foray into Sunday delivery. The Amazon contract will be much needed financial boost to the Postal Service, which continues to bleed red as more Americans favor email, instant message, and social networks over, regular snail mail. The agency, which said it expects to lose around $6 billion this year, has been closing locations and has proposed ceasing Saturday delivery of many items to cut costs. So basically, the Postal Service, they're an independent agency aside, and taxpayer dollars don't really go to the post office. There is a subsidy put back for their retirement fund, but basically they're on their own when it comes to paying their bills, and that's been the case since the 90s, I believe, after Congress passed the Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act, which that mandated $5.5 billion per year be paid into an account to pre-fund retiree health care. And the Postal Service says that they don't have to hire anybody else to handle this because they have a flexible workforce at this point. So that's going to wrap up my show for today. I hope you will continue to tune in. I'm going to try to do one of these more than one time a week because I like talking to you folks, and I like telling you things. And once I get better at doing this, there'll be more frequent shows. So I hope you enjoyed the Val Lemon Show, and I'm going to say goodnight. Good night.